We're also having a discussion with Harsh before this, right? A couple of hours before.
Not today, not no. But we've been having so.
Oh wow, great! We are live now. We are live now. Hasmik, thank you. So welcome back to another episode of VCTV. Another week, another Monday, another start of the week, and we are back on VCTV, which is a venture capital TV, and it's from La Token. I'm very excited to have familiar faces today on my show, and we're going to talk about India. We're going to talk about investments into the startups in India. So today I'm joined by Sushma, Shreya, Harsh from India, and Raghu from New York. Thank you for joining me again on VCTV. Before starting introduction of my speakers today of the panel, let me introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of La Token, and I'm based in Singapore, and I host VCTV Monday to Friday every day. So that's me. Talking about VC investments into India. India's tech ecosystem is riding into the new year, which is 2021, with a lot of enthusiasm. There are multiple startup IPOs on the cards, investments are flowing in, and the spirit of recovering in a post-pandemic era is high. In 2020, despite the coronavirus pandemic, PE, VC, private equity, and venture capital deals hit $39 billion across 814 deals, led by the onslaught of deals by Mukesh Ambani's Jio platform and Reliance Retail. In 2021, Indian VCs believe that investment deal flow will continue as global funds are eyeing a slice of the Indian startup ecosystem. So 2021 will be a watershed year for the tech economy in India. While foreign investors have been extremely bullish about it, domestic investors and even large corporates have been largely bystanders past 10 years waiting for the change to reach a certain critical mass. They will now jump in or be left out of the handsome gains that will be accrued in the next 10 years by participating in the tech economy, said Anup Jain, managing partner at Orius Venture Partners, who is also a regular speaker at VCTV. So that's a bit of background about the VC ecosystem of India before I start my questions. Before that, I would like to take a round of intro and background from each of the speakers we have on the panel today. I'm going to start with Sushma. Hi, Sushma. Welcome back to VCTV. How are you?
Thank you for having me here. It's always so good to be on your platform. It's fantastic. Thanks so much.
Welcome. Little bit background about yourself, Sushma, your kind of investments, which company you represent.
Sure. Yes, so I am part of Avishkar Capital. We are one of the pioneering impact investing funds from India. We manage close to $400 million of assets, all in the impact space. And in the last 10 years, we have made about 71 odd investments and have clocked 37 odd exits. And very quickly, the sectors that we focus on are broadly in three buckets: financial inclusion, sustainable agriculture, and essential services. And the reason for the choice of sectors is because we believe these are the sectors that are able to impact the lives of the Bharat. And that's the focus area for us. And going forward, we would be looking at very interesting and innovative startups solving for Bharat's problems. So yes, happy to discuss it here today.
Thank you so much for sharing those opening remarks with us. I mean, with your introduction as well, Sushma. Thank you and welcome back. Next up, Shreya. Hi, Shreya. How are you? Welcome back.
I'm good. It's always good to be back on VCTV, especially on your shows.
All right.
So thank you for having me. So I'm Shreya Gupta, calling in from Delhi, India, from Venture Gurukul Capability Fund. We are essentially an early stage VC fund and we invest. We are fairly sector agnostic, and we are looking to expand into all kinds of digital transformative business ventures. We are investing in all ventures that are digitally transforming the way India and the world interact, transact, exchange, eat, all things digital. So my first question to my startups is, how many taps does it take for my client to go end to end on your platform? So that's what we are fairly doing, entering early stage, channelizing and making the most of India's digital transformation. Our 500 million active internet users. And yes, that's what we're looking at. And I'd be happy to get connected to startups that are listening to us on this platform today, and happy to share ideas and happy to get insights.
Excellent, Shreya. Thank you so much for that intro. Lovely intro, and welcome back on VCTV.
Thank you.
And I ensure that we have a lot of fun today. Next, I have Harsh. Harsh, usual speaker on VCTV, a part of the VCTV family for a long time. Welcome back, Harsh. How are you?
Hey Sony, glad to be back as always to see familiar faces like Raghu and meeting some new fellow VCs as well in Sushma and Shreya. It's always a pleasure to join here. So just a short bio about myself. Worked with Fortune 50 companies, worked with unicorns, currently working as a venture partner with our ventures raising up to about $10 million for food startups. Uh, we are completely sector agnostic, no sector preference as such. Though I personally tend to prefer fintech, health tech, marketing tech. Those are kind of my sweet spot areas which I tend to focus on. Additionally, I'm currently working on a Facebook group called Startup Hackers, where we are kind of guiding and mentoring early stage startups to kind of take it to the next level. And we've already grown to 600 members in less than 2 months. So I'm pretty stoked about that as well. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Harsh, for that intro, and welcome back. Last but not least, I'm joined today by Raghu from New York. Raghu, thanks. First of all, thanks for joining on this morning panel. And let's have some introduction about yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny and VCTV. I really enjoy doing these shows. I learn more than even a lot of the other panels that I'm on, because it's also a global. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey. I help companies go from seed to harvest, strategy, all the way to exit. Whatever execution support. We have a large, virtual network. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have been initially on the security side for the government, Homeland Security. The software platform we created is being used by TSA for screening, background screening, and also the USA.gov, which is a US citizen portal. We started doing it again. It's now a very large subsite with a lot of subsites. So look forward to this discussion. I think India is something that has been a more attractive opportunity for a lot more cross-border things are happening after the pandemic. And I think India has opened up a little bit now for listing to the US as well. So I'm seeing a lot of opportunities in, I think, some areas where that I'm working in. I'm focusing more on kind of deep tech, de-risked impact investments. That's kind of what I do. And usually early to mid stage. And I'm not only working directly with some companies, as well as working with Indian investors and incubators and accelerators such as Hirsch and Devin and some of the people I met on VCT.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. Always good to hear that making collaborations on VCTV. Thank you, Raghu, for that opening remarks, and welcome back on VCTV again. So great. We're all set with the introductions of our speakers today. So it's about India. We're going to talk about the startups ecosystem and the investment that flowed into the Indian ecosystem in 2020, continuing 2021. So Sushma, let's start with your expertise, your field of expertise, wherever you invest. So what's happening in that space?
Yeah, no, so Sony, last year was a challenging year, and not just for us in India, but I think across the globe. But as they say, at the end of a dark tunnel, there is always light. And that's what we have seen, and that's what we've witnessed. In the last few months alone, India has seen over 1,000 startups getting funded. And that's almost a 38% increase in overall, startup funding from the year before that. So it only talks of great times. In addition to that, the Indian stock market seems to be on fire. There's a lot of equity money flowing into our country. And one of the reasons for that is the way India has jumped back and has proven to be more resilient than probably the other economies. And so it's probably becoming the more attractive haven for investors to park money here. And that's also opening ways for a lot of tech companies to list. So we have a slew of IPOs that are coming up in the next few months. Some of the big tech names are talking of listing. So all of this bodes very well for the startup ecosystem because it only means good investments, which equals to good exits. And so bring in the money, right? So, and more specifically for the sectors that we look at, and as I said, we focus on Bharat and solving for Bharat's problems. And again, that's a huge area that we see that will open up thanks to a lot of policy level push. Also with the digital transformation that thanks to COVID pushed a lot of people who otherwise were largely focused on consumption of digital content are now moving from consumption to transaction, which is quite an evolution that we are seeing. And that can open up a lot of opportunities in the startup ecosystem space. And more so in the areas that we focus, which is fintech, sustainable agriculture, agri-tech, and essential services, which pretty means health tech, edu-tech, logistic tech. There are a lot of interesting solutions that one can build for in India, and products that are being built for India has a larger global appeal in emerging markets, which mimic, the kind of demographic fabric that we have in India. So that's what makes it so exciting. The canvas is large, opportunities are very large. It's only capturing market share here, right? So that's what gets us going every single day.
Wow, great news coming from Indian ecosystem there. Thank you, Sushma, for sharing those insights. Next, I have Shreya.
So I think I second with Sushma completely in terms of how bright India's future is, and especially for the startup ecosystems. I think when we mentioned the fact that COVID was a challenge, I believe it is at the by facing challenges do you come up with effective solutions. Like you can't, necessity is the driver of all creation, right? So I think all these challenges that economies, demographics have faced during COVID, of being locked down, being inside your homes, being able to transact easily, being able to communicate easily, is what is driving the discovery, and what is driving these problem solving technology in India. And for us, for once, our law of large numbers is working for us. Our 1.3 billion number population is really helping, because all of these startups are so diverse, trying to just figure out a niche target addressable market, because even our niche target addressable market has at least couple of million of people, in that space. So, I think it really works well for us. Our demographic is young. Our population is already set on fire to work, to spend, to invest. So, and we are trying, and we and when it comes to financial inclusion, we still are under penetrated in terms of insurance, in terms of digital connectivity for transactions, and now the government pushing things like UPI and NPCIS, things like that. Payment solutions are really working in our favor, and being able to connect to people easily, transcend even one rupee without without actually having a transaction cost over and above it, is the sheer convenience of it. So now somebody can send money in a tier 3 city over their phone, and even without internet data. I have a startup that I'm looking at, which you don't need data. You have to dial a missed call and put in the right numbers through an IVR, and you can transfer data. You can transfer money. And I think those are the kind of solutions that are coming out of the Indian startup ecosystem. So all and every money is welcome, and the one this a little bit that we have, we are ready to deploy as well. So our ears and pockets both are open for anything that is digitally transforming India, including Bharat and including tier two, all kinds of cities. D2C brands that are that are creating tier one cities into these fancy, high end, luxurious cities as well. So yes, just uplifting India's lifestyle is, I think, what COVID has done.
Yeah,
So
that's a
yeah,
very thank you so much, Shay. I'm very much interested to know more about that telephone. Like, you just need a mobile number to send
yeah.
money, not even
It's
with
very
one.
interesting. I recently came across them on a fintech expo, and I'm trying to like make sure that I don't miss out on that opportunity. So yeah,
Oh wow, would like to know more about that though. Okay, thank you, Shreya. Thank you for sharing that. That sounds very, very interesting to me at this point in time. Great. Next, I have Hush.
Hey, Shani. So you look at it last time when the COVID lockdowns were announced, right? Everyone was thinking that the startups will struggle to raise funds in the market, and last year turned out to be one of the best years for startups raising funds in India, right? The amount of investment which happened across the board, from pre-series A to seed to series A. Some companies raised huge amount of funds. Some companies even got an exit. Unfortunately, some companies did not do well as well, like PepperTap and a few other Pepperfry and a few other companies. But overall, the VC sentiment has been bullish the last year, and just in the beginning, right now, in the last 3 months itself, we are seeing tremendous amount of action, a lot of movement happening. One of my friends, he's working in a major fintech company. They're planning to raise their Series A right now. So a lot of growth is happening over there as well. So definitely you look at the opportunities in India, the growth is tremendous, and a lot of interesting companies they're looking to expand internationally as well. So in fact, one company they currently kind of reached out to me about 3 months back. They were into electric vehicle space. They were looking to raise around $5 million to kind of actually launch their vehicles into the market, and they would be one of the first non-OEM kind of a company looking to launch their products into the market. Another AI health tech company was there. They were looking for international expansion, expanding into Europe and US, to kind of take it to the next level and create a one of a kind health tech product. So, in terms of the opportunities that are there in India, it's absolutely mind boggling, and the amount of ingenuity, the innovation, and the hard work that you see over here, it's absolutely amazing. Just last week, I saw a company in the blockchain space, and it was one of the most unique and innovative pitches I've ever come across. They were truly taking blockchain to a whole new level, and making it extremely simple, and ensuring that the data security is well taken care of, which is essentially what the focus of the blockchain is, right? So
Yeah,
we have a follow up session with them this week, and hopefully,
right.
if everything goes well, I'll be working on them to raise funds for them as well. So in terms of the opportunities and the ingenuity which is there, it's absolutely amazing, which I've seen over the last year.
Yeah, fantastic. All good news so far. Thank you so much, Hush. Next, we have Raghu.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. As everybody has pointed out, it's India's opportunities now because of the pandemic. I think a lot of things have gotten democratized. There's a lot more interaction cross border. For me, unusually, I've been involved in a lot of three-way deals. There is India, Singapore, and US,
Right.
which I never worked on like that before. But just now, I'm working on an exit where the funds are coming from Singapore, the IP is from India, and the exit is happening in the US. So that's
Wow.
one example. There's another
Right.
example where that the example I gave you is in biotech. There's another one in what I would call green tech, where U.S. manufacturing company funded from U.S. Army labs is now has a strategic partner, manufacturing partner in India, who is also investing. So it's amazing. This kind of deals are happening much more easily, I think, compared to even a year ago. So,
Wow.
so I think that's great. The one of the things I think will be very helpful is kind of like the startup nation Israel. If India also helps with the due diligence part a little bit, the Indian government, I think it'll go a long way because one of the bigger issues is the due diligence aspect in India. That's why I usually work with some local people like Hirsch and others who can do some of the due diligence
Hmm.
for all both investment as well as partnerships. So, but it's very exciting time. I think I'm particularly looking at impact investments, given India's large population in the biotech space, things like diabetes, cancer, and some of these where Asian countries in general have a very large populations that could use new technologies there.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Raghu, for sharing those insights and your partnership with Harsh as well. It's good to know about that as well, besides Gary and others. And very interesting that deal, that flow that you said, exit funds coming from Singapore, IP out of India, and somewhere else. That was very interesting to know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So, Sushma, let's just go a little deeper into the kind of investments that we're able to close digitally like this, not face to face. Obviously, the lockdown situation is still prevailing all over the world. So, how did you manage to close, if any, in the past 12 to 16 months? And how difficult or how easy it was for you?
No, I think that's what's so good about humans, right? They quickly adapt. And yes, it was challenging time. Due diligence were challenging. It had to be done remotely. But we did manage to close 3 investments during that period. And not only close 3 investments, we were also able to close a few exits and also have hit the road for our 6th fund, which is expected to be about a $250 million fund, and all the big LPs, institutional LPs, are all very comfortable doing remote diligence. And people are very efficient about things, and there is a full structure to doing it. So the way we did it, however, for the investments that we did, these were ongoing discussions, ongoing relationships. We had probably visited the field, sometime back and seen, what was going on. And that's when the lockdown happened. So it was far easier for us to go ahead and close the transaction. So, for example, one of the investments we did was in a very interesting neobank space, where targeting just the small business owners, and that particular business took off in a very big way, even during lockdown, because the small mom and pop shop, the kiranas as we call it in India, saw a phenomenal spurt in demand, because people were sitting at home and consuming a lot more than what people otherwise would consume.
Yeah.
And so these kirana guys saw a huge spurt in requirements of short-term credit, long-term credit, other financial products. And this company did very, very well during that period. So we closed that investment just prior to lockdown, and the company has grown almost 5 times in the last few months. And we also went ahead and invested in a grain bank in the back of beyond of Bihar, in a place called Samastipur. And again, would have been very difficult had it not been for technology. And not only did we close the round, but we were also able to get a few co-investors to participate in that round alongside us. All thanks to everything online, including the signing of transaction documents. So so these are some of the examples. We invested in a logistic company that manages last mile delivery. Again, something that we saw that took off in a big way during the lockdown. There was an initial hiccup, but most of these companies that I spoke of are all in the essential services category, and hence were allowed to remain open and operate even during the lockdown. So I guess that's what distinguishes what we do at Avishkar Capital. We invest in businesses that are solving for real problems. And so even in a situation like a pandemic, they've all proven to be quite resilient on their own and have been able to continue to thrive even in these difficult times. So yes, that's how it has been for us.
Wow, that's good. Talking about that was it a green bank? Did you say green bank in Bihar?
Grain bank.
So can you explain what exactly that means?
I'll explain. So the problem we face in India, one of the infrastructural problems that most farmers face is that all the big warehouses only cater to very big companies or big farmers or middlemen. None of the warehouses actually solve for the problem of the small and marginalized farmer who have very, very fragmented land parcels. So what this grain bank is trying to do is to create small micro warehouses at the doorstep of the farmer. And so he has the ability to store even one bag of grain, which is digitized. And thanks to digital transformation, that's his currency. So it doesn't matter, whether he has one bag of grain or 10 bags of grain or 100 bags of grain. He can go ahead and save it in this warehouse. And it's so digitized that he can have future contracts with the grain bank to say when it hits a spot price of such and such, please go ahead and liquidate. And then he gets his money in his bank account. And what it is doing is it is bringing him into the formal financial system, which then opens up a lot more opportunities for him.
Wow, very, very good use case. It's a grain bank. Sorry, I got it. And the Kinara shop, as you mentioned, besides lending, was it like, were they also interested in digitizing their platform or going on a digital platform?
It's everything to do with the small business owner's journey, right? In the financial services requirement. So it could be small things like rewards. All of us take rewards for granted because we've always got it. But for this particular segment, nobody even thinks of giving them any kind of rewards for the things that they use. Similarly, credit cards. 90% of these small shops don't have access to credit cards. Insurance products. None of the products are designed for their requirement. Even credit products. Nobody provides for 14 days, 20 days working capital cycles for these kind of shops, right? So these are the kind of services this company develops, very bespoke credit, insurance, and engagement products. And that's how they engage with this category.
Really like these two examples. Thank you, Sushma, for sharing these use cases with us and your recent investments during the pandemic. Great stories coming from Sushma, Avishkar Capital. Next, I have Shreya. So Shreya, what deals were Venture Gurukul was able to close in the last 12 to 16 or 18 months? And how easy, difficult it was for you to close deals? Just Sushma sort of shared her experience, and they were like all collaboration, it seems like. So what can you share with us?
So we didn't close any investment deals per se. We did have a lot of follow-on calls, and we did all of our first round of identifying our potential investee companies online. Because pre-lockdown, like 2 weeks before the lockdown, was when we actually got our SEBI registration to be a Cat 1 fund. So most of our actual official fundraising happened online. And that is what is going on right now as well. We are just wrapping it up, making sure all I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and that's what is happening. But for me, on the deal flow side of things, of identifying startups, I think because there was not much one-on-one networking happening, not any expos happening. So for me, I was able to connect and discover startups and entrepreneurs online through platforms like VCTV, TIE, Fiki, and all of those other fabulous organizers who have taken digital platforms like just like a second extension, like just a second hand, and worked fairly well. So digital transformation and being able to communicate that easily over Zoom, over Google Meets, has been amazing, and that's what we're doing right now. We are just formalizing everything. I think we still want to have that one flavor of one-on-one personal touch when it comes to investing and when it comes to finding, closing everything. But yes, I think what Sushma was saying about the fact that how these mom and pop stores have done fairly well. So we already have a portfolio company that provides P2P lending, and we were able to give them a follow on round completely online, completely got them because of the fact that they are serving the SME. They are now, trying to capture the SME market in terms of giving them bespoke credit lending products. And I think that is where a lot of fintech potential lies, because these MSMEs and SMEs are the ones that are capturing more and more market because they are able to serve the actual demographics of India, being locally available. And they are the ones who actually drove the resilience that we see in the Indian economy, because they were the ones that were operating under these essential services. The 24/7 right next to my house was shut, but the I think 3-decade-old Kirana store right down my lane was open and was more than happy to send the milk, the bread, the eggs that we needed. So that is how it actually works. And then we have another portfolio company, which is a fintech, again a fintech platform, which provides credit cards to MSMEs on very low prices, and which have fairly low creditability available. And we were able to complete a follow on transaction with them as well. And that is how it actually works. All our investor catch up calls for their performances, because all of our, touch wood, by God's grace, all of our portfolio has survived COVID. All of them had made not large profits but have been profitable. So all of our investor calls, strategic pivots that happened over VCs, and that's what you do. And I think working from home, working remotely, strategizing remotely is now the new thing. And I think that's where even our investment thesis lies, to invest in SaaS platforms that automate processes, that automate the way you communicate, the way you want to scale. And now I think borders and geographies are kind of just becoming sublime, and are kind of dissolving thanks to digital transformation.
Yeah. Great, great. I mean, really liking the sort of green stories coming out from all the speakers today. Thank you, Shreya, for sharing those insights with our viewers. Really great stories coming out of India ecosystem. Thank you. Then next, I'll go for Harsh.
Hi, it's been a great year for us as well. In fact, one of our highest investments. I think we did over 15 investments in the last year, and we actually even got 2 or 3 exits earlier this year at an IRR of between 25 to 30%. So it's been very good year for us, and most of the investments which we did, they were primarily in technology space. Trying to make technologies which were trying to facilitate technology which was very hands-on and required manual intervention, and trying to bring that into digital trying to transfer it through digital technology. Those were kind of the startups which we typically invested. Some of the closures that we had were companies like OW over there. We had several companies in the SaaS space were there. Several in the HR tech was there. So we definitely, it was a great year for us in terms of the opportunities, and some of the sectors which we saw the most opportunities in are alluding to what Sushma was talking about as well, right? Primarily in trying to facilitate the last mile retailers, how we can make their lives easier and how we can supplement them, right? Those are some of the very interesting sectors which saw a lot of opportunities. Everyone knows the growth with Khata Book which happened. M-Swipe kind of created a very unique solution where a lot of these digital small retail stores, they could create their own digital footprint and they could sell through their platform, right? A lot of these developments which happened, and we saw a lot of growth over there in those kind of sector as well. In fact, I'm consulting right now another pharma startup from the US who are looking to enter into the Indian market and kind of help these pharma retailers get their stores online, create their own CRM system, and kind of sell them through that service, right? So that is going to be always going to be India's staple, India's last mile retailers, because that is the true India, the true grassroots economy.
Yeah.
You can have all the technology in the world, but you cannot ignore this part of the economy because they drive almost 50% of the economy. and that's second largest economy after agriculture. So if you can facilitate through that, definitely there's going to be tons of improvement. And another interesting development which we are seeing is there's this current company which I'm working with. They are primarily into the garage space, right? What they are doing is they are digitizing garages, and they are helping them go online, creating a CRM system for them, focusing completely B2B.
Garage.
Imagine the opportunity. Garages,
Garage.
yeah, garages, two-wheeler, three-wheeler garages.
Okay. Okay. Go carry on. Sorry. I was.
So car repair shops, if that helps.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they
Yeah.
are digitizing these car repair shops, and they're helping them come online. So they already have around 6,000, 7,000 registered garages on the platform. Imagine the opportunity where these guys were completely offline. They had no record of their customers. They had no information.
Yeah.
They could now come offline. They could do a follow up like advanced companies do with their CRM to their customers. They can upsell them. They can cross sell them, and they can get access to advanced products at an extremely cheaper price. That's what this company is focusing on. So imagine the kind of opportunity which they can get into an industry which was completely grassroots level. No one kind of focused on them, and they are helping them go to the next level. Another fellow company which I'm working with right now, they are focusing on last mile logistics. So essentially what they're doing is, imagine you have a small kirana store and you get an order from one of your customers. They want it delivered at their home within the next 1 or 2 hours, right? They would have to either leave their shop because they probably won't have too many staff doing the last mile delivery, or they will have to employ someone. They will have to provide them a bicycle to kind of deliver it to them, or a bike to deliver to
Yeah.
them, and that person, the efficiency of that person is lost because he's no longer at the shop. He's doing the delivery. Now the company that I'm working for right now, they facilitate those deliveries for these last mile retail shops. So imagine the kind of benefits which these last mile retail shops will have with such kind of service, right? So that is essentially what what we call a lot of hidden opportunity and the hidden money in India is placed. You have all these fancy tech companies doing all these amazing stuff, but even if you solve these simple problems and you operate them at scale, the amount of potential which these kind of companies have is absolutely mind-boggling. So that is exactly the kind of companies which I tend to truly be interested in as well.
Very good. Again, very good stories coming out from our ventures as well. Talking about the garage thing, is it because of the pandemic lockdown that this whole thing offline business decided to go on a digital platform?
So even during pandemic, there was slight movement, but the pandemic kind of made it glaringly obvious that if you're not digital, you're going to
Yeah.
completely get screwed up, right? Thing is, they would have like those basic feature phones. They would have literally no control over the customers. If the customer comes, only then they know there is a customer. Otherwise, there's nothing. They
Yeah.
had no form of customer activation, right? Now with having a CRM solution, they can follow up with the customers on a regular basis. Just give them some sort of alerts and get those new customers flowing in. And the focus is not on those big garages which you see from the company garages, right? The focus is on regular garages, those small individual owner come proprietor who's single-handedly doing everything. The focus
Yeah.
is on them who had literally zero tech background. So that is the key focus which is there. The big garages, they tend to have all the infrastructure in the world, but the focus is on the smaller ones who literally had nothing with them. They had no background. They had no way to compete with these big players, and now they do. That's what the
Right.
focus is on.
Wow. Great insights, great stories, Harsh. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing those with our viewers. Last but not least, we have Raghu to share his insights, some success stories. Raghu, you are on mute.
Thank you. I was not really looking to do deals with India, but it just happened that I think some of the global dynamics that have happened, such as I think the advanced state of digital transformation, which in India caused a bit from demonetization, some of the other things that happened, have really helped it during the pandemic in terms of having, like, if you look at the vaccine rollout, India has done a much better job than many other countries because it's centralized. They have this COVID app, and things. At least from what I'm hearing through the grapevine, that things are, the vaccination drive is happening really smoothly. So I think there are many factors like that. The new Quad alliance, because of the dynamics with China and all that, and the US, I think that is actually going to bring even more activity, especially in the manufacturing sector, because three of the other partners, the Japan, US, and Australia, are
Yeah.
looking for a manufacturing partner who can help them other than alternative to China. So I think that's a very exciting development that's happening. And to kind of illustrate that point, one of the companies that I was talking about, we have done about 5 deals that have involved India in one form or another, either the technology or the market or the funds, or involving India.
Yeah.
So this company, it's been looking for funds in the US, and it is one of these companies that, that the market is huge. This is glass coating for energy efficiency. There's a $70 billion market because, currently the glass is one way. When you coat, it just keeps the heat out in the summer. But this particular thing has a two-phase where it can keep the heat out in the summer and let the heat in the winter. So it increases efficiency dramatically. So the kind of investments that we were getting or approaching in the US were mostly kind of financial investors, whereas now we found a strategic investor which can actually help with manufacturing and at the same time take care of the Indian market, Asian market as well. So it's worked out really well. And in spite of the pandemic, things have been slow because 2 times when investor visits were planned because of pandemic, it had to be canceled. But eventually we persisted, and it's now coming to the deal is about to close. So I think that is one. The second one is, I think, unfortunately, India has not supported the crypto, but that is where I think Singapore has come in. Indian funds are going into Singapore, and then through that, deals are happening. So just to kind of, arbitrage on the inflation and things like that, as well as the crypto. I think those are some interesting developments.
Yeah. Thank you, Raghu. And talking about crypto, I think Singapore is very friendly. I mean, as long as there is it wasn't that maybe a couple of years ago, but now I think it is becoming quite friendly in terms of crypto. But talking about crypto, is the ban still in between? Like, is it the ban? Sorry, Harsh probably would be the right person to.
Yeah.
I'm not following because when Nigeria announced that they're lifting the ban or something, so I'm not sure what's the stage.
The problem is the financial minister recently kind of made a mention that she is quite encouraging of blockchain and crypto, and then there are these conflicting messages from the RBI and the court that they are thinking of banning it because there's no way of tracking it. So what is happening is even the Indian authorities are completely not in sync whatsoever. What do they do with it? So that is the biggest problem. So it doesn't really make sense. I think if they want to make some sort of control, they could do it like US, where they kind of restrict it to accredited investors, where at least people with certain beyond a certain wealth, at least they can operate in that who understand this. But doing a blanket ban doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. So and the problem is because of the constant limbo, no one wants to invest in that, because I'm getting all these blockchain startups and across the world, and the first thing that I'm telling them is you need to move out to Singapore or Switzerland because there's no long-term stability option in India.
Right. I think, Raghu also shared the same thing. I mean, obviously, crypto-friendly jurisdictions, as we call. Thank you so much for that, sharing that. Again, still, we have all success stories. We have good sort of use cases coming out from the Indian ecosystem. Talking about challenges, obviously, there will be challenges for entrepreneurs at every stage, be it getting that first round of funding, finding the right investor, how much equity they need to give out in the first round for an early stage startup. So what kind of challenges have we seen? And we can share, and how did you help overcome these challenges for these startups and founders? Maybe Sushma can start with this.
Sure. No, Sonia, I'm happy to share some of the instances that we have seen in the space that we operate in. So one of the challenges that we've seen with startups is of late, the mortality rates of startups have really gone up. And one of the probable reasons for this is lack of depth of investors investing in certain asset classes, right? Like and there seems to be, it seems to be a very cyclical way of operating. If you see one investor go after a certain type of a company, you will see a slew of five investments in the same space, right? And so that kind of herd mentality is proving challenging for many startups, and some of the good startups as well, right? Who are actually genuinely building good quality products. They are suffering because of lack of funding, and for all the wrong reasons. Second is, we are seeing this whole thing of winner take it all market. India is such a big country, and within India, we have so many ecosystems that it's not even uniform. So, for someone to say that we are building a product which is going to be the market leader and the only market leader in this space, is a very hard thing to digest. And yet, there is a belief that it's a winner take it all market, and all the money gets pumped only in that one winner, or one or two or three winners. So this is kind of proving to be very challenging for entrepreneurs and for startups who probably don't have access to the cream investors in this space. And so how are we mitigating it as Avishkar is, we definitely operate in a very different space. And while we focus on businesses which are more mainstream like fintech, agri-tech, but the kind of opportunities that we seek out are very different and very unique to our investment strategy. And what we also do is we have understood the importance of capital, and also the importance of having a very strong business model. So we don't invest in a business model which does not have a path to a positive unit economics. Negative gross margin businesses are a no-no for us, even in the quest of market share or growth. So we've created these hacks for us to invest in, to provide a longer runway, to bring in more aligned investors to support these really good quality companies longer, and create more sustainable businesses and not just fad businesses. So that is how we kind of support our entrepreneurs in difficult, landscapes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sushma, for sharing those, because obviously, you as you rightly said, the winner takes it all, and the herd mentality has to be addressed. Thank you. Thank you, Sushma. Shreya, same question.
So I think Sushma laid it out fairly well. The entrepreneurs are actually facing problems with strategic partners. Like, you entrepreneurs are probably getting easy capital, as I like to call it, where you do get the money, but you don't get the right expertise as to how to deploy that capital. Like, there are VC funds or even PE funds who are just, following this fad or trend, as we want to call it, where they just pick this one khata book look like or one other unicorn look alike, and then give them the money for them to go like, yeah, if they can scale, you can scale, burn the money, it will happen. But that actually is not that easy. Scalability does not come as easy as it does to a first mover advantage, right? If you are a lookalike or if you are a copycat, no doubt about it, the world survives on that. But there needs to be a unique value proposition or a unique add-on value to your lookalike. Like, even if you want to copy somebody's answer for an exam, you at least write it in your own writing. That is what I was trying to tell my entrepreneur the other day. And those are the kind of skill sets is what your early stage or your seed investor is supposed to get to you. If you have something, if you do actually have a product and a decent amount of focus and a growth plan for the next 1 or 2 years, then your VC fund or your seed investor can come in, tell you how to build capability within your idea and how to take it forward, how to scale sensibly. Like, that is the thesis that Venture Gurukul, operates on. We call ourselves Gurukul is because of that we want to come in, give you and help you build capability, make a sustainable business model, and not just be a trend following, tracking kind of a portfolio. Like for us, like our current portfolio company that that right now we have made it a point that they are not just any out, because startups, as we say that the startups in India come dime a dozen, right? And now looking in 2021, we've just been what 3 months in, and we already have four unicorns out of India. So now you can sit and copy each and every unicorn in India that has been there, but you have to also look at the fact that these unicorn lists have dropouts as well. So you don't want to create a one time unicorn, you want to create a sustainable business that can go global, that can with have a global mindset, but be able to be localized in its terms of solution.
Yeah.
Because you might want to make an impact fund as well, but you have to make it a point that if you are working at such economies, if you're picking up a startup from India, which has a global outfit, but the whole point is that will it be able to solve a similar problem back in Nigeria? Even though both of our countries are struggling with certain levels of under penetration, financially, or even looking at agri-tech where there is so much breakage in linking. So so that's the kind of things, like the challenges. So coming back to the challenges that entrepreneurs face, I think they need, I think entrepreneurs need to be more wary of the investors they choose rather than the investors being wary of the team of entrepreneurs they fund. And and your investors, your strategic advisors is what can make you or break your business, I think. So, and the other is ease of business in our country. I would like to just, slightly drop that point where India needs to be more and more friendly to new businesses and startups and entrepreneurs. So yeah, that are my two bits.
Besides, the ease of business should be, supporting the blockchain entrepreneurs as well.
I think our tech is not that advanced to be able to inculcate blockchain yet. Maybe in 2 years' time for sure. I think first we need to have a really strong tech linkages that happen through and through. Like right now, we have so many white spaces and gaps in technology being distributed amongst our population and our enterprises. First, our technology needs to be diverse and ubiquitous, as we like to call it, and then you can apply blockchain to it. Like you need to have enough data, you need to have enough access for your blockchain to actually work, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Great points there, Shreya. Thank you for sharing. Next, I have Harsh.
Hi. So there are two aspects to it, right? So, Sushma and Shreya definitely made some interesting points, particularly regarding the herd mentality. It's been so
Yeah.
common that I'm raising funds for a startup. I have 3, 4 VCs who are on the fence of of investing, and they're just waiting for that first mover. Once that
Oh,
first mover fool, everyone aligns like a domino, but no one is willing to take that first step. So
right.
that becomes extremely frustrating. Just right now, for that one of the startups I'm working right now, that's exactly what has happened. I have 4 interested parties. All of
Yeah.
them are interested, but they are waiting for that one domino to fall. Once that one domino falls, the round will close within 2 days, because then their FOMO kicks in. That
Yes.
if we don't invest right now, we'll lose out.
FOMO.
So
Yes.
it's absolutely hilarious to see that thing playing out day in day out. So that is definitely a very interesting phenomenon which has happened. One more phenomenon which has happened is right now the investors have become very demanding in terms of the revenue numbers. Earlier, what used to happen is even if you used to have a good POC done or used to have some good early traction done, you would get investments. Now they are interest. Now the number of revenue expectations for the valuation has gone extremely high. So that has become a major challenge. And with the current economic scenario, what that has done is the revenues for the startups aren't growing as they would have otherwise done in a
Yeah.
non-COVID scenario, and because of that, they're not getting the right kind of valuation which they would have gotten otherwise. So that has been a very huge challenge, particularly for some startups in specific categories focusing on last mile retail. For them, that has been a huge problem. So that has been a broad overall. If a company is doing like 1 CR, 2 CR of revenue, they are unable to get valuations of like 20 CR, 30 CR, which they would have gotten easily pre-COVID, because 1 2 CR revenue is pretty good revenue, and if people are willing to pay that kind of money for a business, as that's definitely a very sustainable business in the long run, right? But it's
Right.
become extremely difficult to get those kind of valuations and that
Right.
kind of investor interest right now. So at the same time, what this has done is this has created opportunity for the funds like Avishkar and the other debt players, because they are more than happy to participate in such kind of companies and truly get their part, because the founder is very confident that he's going to be getting revenues, he's going to get money out of that. So he's like, if I'm getting money out of this, I can pay back the loan, I can like, retain my equity. That makes me very happy. So that is, that's been an interesting shift towards the debt side of things. Typically, like the venture debt which Avishkar does, then you have a lot of these NBFCs offering very attractive interest rates in the range of 15 to 16%. So even these have become very interesting. There has been growth of revenue-based funding as well as an interesting investment source, because equity investment has become more expensive. So we are seeing some growth over there as well in revenue-based funding opportunities as well. So that has been another interesting movement. You look at it, you deep dive it in terms of specific category-wise, the tourism category has completely gone for a toss.
Yeah.
Hospitality industry, we've had three very amazing startups pitch to us. We look at their pre-COVID numbers; they were doing absolutely phenomenal, and then COVID hit and they were completely stuck. So that industry has struggled a lot. A lot of other industry in terms of textile, clothing, fashion, tech, those kind of industries have struggled a lot. But if you on the other side of thing, you have hyper local logistics, which has completely soared up. You have companies in terms of even broad logistics, they've soared up. Gaming industry, they've soared up. So it's kind of been a mixed bag in terms of industries, and I don't need to mention about edtech, right? Every
Yes.
other day I see 3 or 4 startups pitching to me in the edtech space. It's kind of becoming such a huge clash. I just try to zone myself out, because I can't take any more edtech startups, to be quite honest.
I think
I
edtech and
would like to add something to this.
yes, go
You know,
on.
when I entered Venture Gurukul about a year and a half ago, I was all excited about edtech, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to find the next edtech disruptor, yeah. And now when I get like a couple of pitch decks, and I'd be just like, what are you doing different? And and it's
Exactly.
become so saturated, like it's just a haystack,
Hmm.
and I think there's no needle left there. So yeah, edtech I think has been, but I still feel that it's not reached the underpenetrated tier 2, tier 3. It's still not done what it was supposed to do. Like, I feel like education was such a major opportunity in India, given that we do suffer with very high dropout rates, and that also even pre high school, we have high dropout rates. But then also, just it just feels like there is traction, but there's no engagement in edtech at all, and that's where the struggle begins for startups, where they need to get engagement back.
Yeah.
So in the edtech, my typical feedback for most startups has been only one thing: by the time you see these funding results in the news, you're already too late. Because what happens is you're already six months behind the curve, because
Hmm.
for that fundraising the startup has been working for that for 6 months, 8 months, probably even a year, right? So if you're getting into that right now, you're already behind the curve. And
Yeah.
once someone has putting back to Sushma's point again, right, there has become this critical mindset that it's not become a mindset, it's become now a self-fulfilling theory in itself, that because everyone is putting their money in a single thing, that only that one thing is going to go become the big one. So even for my hyperlocal logistics startup which I'm working with right now, everyone thinks that Swiggy and Dunzo are going to be the only players. So there's no point investing money in any other logistic player. They they need to understand the beauty of the model which the guy is working on. Once you see the genius of the model that he's working in, you cannot be there's no way you cannot be blown away by his execution capabilities. But they typically have a mindset that that this is going to work. So all of them will put their money in that one thing, and then when it
Yeah.
goes bust, everyone will claim that Indian startups are not very good. So you need to have your own understanding of what exactly the situation
Yeah.
is, right?
No, the
Yeah.
startup that he's talking about, his hyperlocal delivery startup, it actually does have a lot of potential. And I am also one of those investors who's waiting for a domino to fall. And and yeah, so that if I know there's more traction, then I'll also take it up and go like, I think this is where we should be. This is where we should be going.
Awesome, fantastic, great. Raghu, coming over to you with your insights before we wrap up the show.
Yeah, I think I agree with the herd mentality that a lot of, like, for instance, I can see it in the pharma biotech space. People tend to be all on the generic side. They are not looking on the premium drug side or the IP. Most of the Indian companies seem to be more not so much on the IP, but after the patent is expired in the kind of the high volume, low margin space, and they call it innovation, but it's really not innovation in how I see it. That's changed. Like, for instance, the company that we are about to exit, it was like IP rich with more than 100 patents and all on what we call blockbuster drugs. So I think you have to really, there's a lot of opportunity for innovation in India. I think the investors need to, help with that. And part of that is, I think, because of the pandemic, there's a lot more exposure, direct exposure to investors from global investors, which I think has brought in a little bit of fresh blood, if you will, because otherwise there was this more of the herd mentality. I think that's getting a little bit democratized now. So I think that's a great trend. The other thing that's happening is local investors are going more after the local markets, which is, I think, the way it should be. At least the lead initial due diligence and things like that needs to come locally because they're closer to the entrepreneurs and the founders. So that, I think, I'm actually leveraging that trend with these cross-border partnerships. So because that's where I used to have trouble before. I've lost some funds because we didn't know how to do due diligence, and because a lot of people present very well, but there's nothing much underneath. The presentation is great. So
Yeah.
I think the execution capability, really, you need a good local partner to figure out if it's sustainable. So I think it's a good time. I think the tech, because I'm in the deep tech space, to some extent the execution is not as important if we can take the IP abroad. I mean, and in terms of the go to market. So I think that is the models I'm working with mostly, where the technology is the MVP level, and then I get involved more from the go to market side. We raise money in US, especially in New Jersey. We have a tax credit for global investors of 20 to 25%, which is very helpful. And so that is something I'm leveraging based on my geography. So
Right.
So
Good to know
to
that.
add to Raghu's point, he's absolutely right. Right, having that local person to kind of understand, the execution capabilities, as well as having a strong legal system in India. Right, if India can have a strong legal system where if there is some startup malpractice happening, investors can sue the startups and get that result done within 2 to 3 years. If we have that kind of strong legal system in place, international funds would drop into India like crazy. It is amazing how much opportunity and how much potential is there. And the only reason the international investors aren't coming to India as much as they otherwise would have is primarily because of this. And in the biggest international investor source in India till date has been China, and they only invest at Series B, Series C, and beyond stages, because at that time they kind of they have their own employees coming over here, and they have deep hands-on control in terms of working with the companies. I've seen it up close with Paytm, with all the Chinese executives who would come here. We would interact with them on a daily basis, and how we used to often work with them hands in glove. So they used to come at that stage, but at the early stage we don't see that much international investments coming in. So if we have like a stronger legal system to kind of separately just for startups, and have that kind of enforcing available, so that the investors are assured that their money, if it's invested in a country, it's going to be safe, then the opportunities could truly blow up in a scale which is never seen before, and India could actually become number 2 after US.
So, do our ventures, my follow-on question, provide those legal services or planning to?
So we have startup support partners through which we can do that, but without the judiciary there is very limited stuff which we can do. Right, in the end it goes down to the courts, and it's up to the courts to decide. And if the decision is just simply put on a stay order, there's literally nothing much you can do about it.
Okay,
The court will simply put a stay order on that, and that puts
Got it.
a full stop on everything.
Right. Got it. Sorry. Yeah, got it. Thank you so much for sharing great insights. Let's take some closing remarks. We're talking about India, investments into Indian startup ecosystem. Let's take closing remarks before we wrap up. Sure. Starting with Sushma, please.
Sure. The startup ecosystem in India continues to be vibrant. We are seeing some great quality talent working on some very innovative solutions for India, for Bharat, and that's where the huge opportunity is. India is definitely not a winner take it all market. There is room for a lot of players working, a lot of innovative solutions, and all India requires is investors with conviction who can back good quality businesses.
Right. Thank you so much, Sushma. Shreya?
So my closing remarks for this would be, first, thank you for having me, and it was great to be a part of this panel where we can boast all about India, and how and I would like to also say that India is a diverse and a beautiful country, and thus is coming up with the most innovative solutions to most basic problems, I think, because of our diverse demographic. And all investors and startups are welcome to be part of our ecosystem. And I think India has a lot more to give and a lot more to grow from. And I think this is just the beginning of a very, very large picture. So yes,
Awesome.
thank you for having me.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shreya, for those remarks. Harsh?
So definitely India, the kind of opportunities which India provides is absolutely mind-boggling. You can easily scale your business very easily. Amount of potential customers are there. The mindset has opened up as well. You look at 10 years before, the mindset used to be very closed, and people would take a lot of time, to give a new startup a test. Now it is significantly easier. The barrier to entry is kind of gone in a ways that someone can simply kind of come in, and people are open to kind of new experiences. The opportunity is definitely there. We only need more clarity and more imagination and more openness from our government in terms of restricting, in terms of some of the restrictive policies which are there. Once that is there, the sky is the oyster. So there's literally no end to the kind of opportunity which India has, and India could become just as big as China. Because I see some of my friends in China who now switch to Silicon Valley, and the kind of growth that they have, right? They literally tell me stories that in China, getting 100 million users is just a matter about a year. They can get 100 million users within a single year. That's how open and how big the opportunity is, and now the government has kind of facilitated that kind of growth where everyone has access to digital technologies. You have apps like WeChat and all the others, which the penetration is so deep, and they've expanded the penetration into tier 3, tier 4 markets. It's gone so deep. It's absolutely mind-boggling the kind of skill that they have. If we do the same in India, as Sushma was pointing out, to the Bharat is what we call it, right? The tier 3, tier 4 towns and those smaller villages. If we get them on board the platform, and I think we had this discussion in a panel last week as well. If we get those users on the platform, the startups who are typically focusing on just the same 20 cr 30 cr urban population and focus on the rest of the 50 cr 100 cr, the opportunities are endless.
Awesome. Great points there. I'm just loving this panel, but we just short of time. Thank you so much, Harsh, for your great remarks as well. Raghu, over to you.
Yeah, very briefly, I think there are a lot of opportunities. I'm looking at collaborating with local investors as well as manufacturing strategic type of investors. I think those areas I have some good startups as well as early stage companies here looking for partners, and I think the Indian government, I think, could help a lot in terms of help vet it as well as encourage ways for due diligence. I think that's very, very key. So, thank you.
Thank you, Raghu. So Raghu is looking for partners in India. So all
medtech, cybertech, health, medtech, yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that with us. So great. That was an awesome panel. A lot of information coming out from all the speakers today about the Indian ecosystem. Let's build it together. I really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for sharing your insights and obviously contributing the time to this panel on VCTV. I'm definitely going to catch up with you on another panel. Till then, watch VCTV and take care of yourself. Bye. Bye, all.
Bye.